Thank you so much, Haley. Welcome everybody to the information session for the CICE program at Niagara College. Our program is at the Daniel J. Patterson campus in Niagara-on-the-Lake. My name is Jessica Perez. I'm the Field Placement Officer for the CICE program and your first point of contact if you are applying to the program, and I help walk you through the application process and the intake process. I'd like to also introduce, we'll start with our full-time professors, LB and Linda. You want to go ahead?
Hi, I'm LB. Nice to see you all.
Hi, I'm Linda. Nice to meet you all virtually.
And then we have our learning facilitators.
Hi, I'm Chuck. I'm one of the full-time learning facilitators.
And hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm Leah, the other learning facilitator.
Hi, well, welcome everyone. And we're really happy to introduce to you the CICE program this afternoon. So the CICE program is on an Ontario College certificate program that runs 4 continuous semesters. So we run straight through the summer for 4 semesters. It is 16 months. It's currently delivered in person on campus. So we're very fortunate to be all face-to-face, and all of our classes are delivered on campus with, as was mentioned, the proper PPE and social distancing. The CICE students that come to our program are considered full-time college students, and they enjoy all the rights and all the privileges of every other full-time student. So we're really hoping to see some of you in one of our future intakes.
All right, so the admission requirements for the CICE program is that applicants have a Ontario Secondary School Diploma or an Ontario Secondary School Certificate or Certificate of Accomplishment. Students who are 19 years of age or older can also apply as a mature student status. Our applicants, we do ask, have a level of independence that does not require constant support or supervision. Now, we do offer additional support for students that are in our program, and we will speak to that a little bit later, but we do not provide one-to-one support in our classrooms or any of our activities as a CIC student. So that level of independence does have to be there. The ability to manage transportation to the college and to any field placements or off-campus activities. Now that looks different for all of our students. So it could be that our students are taking public transportation. Maybe they're getting a drive from a caregiver, or they might have their driver's license and they are driving themselves to college or their field placements in the community. But there is an expectation that they will be able to get themselves to those activities that are in the community, such as their field placements. Participation in an interview to articulate personal goals and determine suitability for the program. When applying to the program, we really want to make sure that the CICE program is what the students are looking for and that they will be a good fit for our program. And we always want to make sure we're setting applicants up for success if they're admitted into the program. And any applicant who has graduated from any other college program is not eligible for the CICE program because they have already demonstrated that they are able to complete a non-CICE program without the extra supports that we provide in the CICE program.
The goals of the CICE program are to enhance academic and employability skills. So some of you may be coming in from high school and have some co-op experience or previous job experience. You want to build on that. Or you also want to look at, again, gaining more experience within the classroom and building those academic skills. We want to look at building independence and your self-advocacy. So knowing what you want, knowing yourself and knowing how to get it, and then increasing your communication skills. This can also be not only just socially with your peers or friends, but also in the classroom as well as in an employment setting. We also really want to increase your technology and computer skills for what you come in starting with. And then always trying to build on your professional and work-ready skills. So are you able to arrive to class on time, be prepared, have everything opened and ready to go? And this really ties in with our time management and organizational skills that are kind of woven in through all of our classes and different activities. And then we always want to strengthen your basic numeracy skills and gain an understanding of personal and financial management skills. So this could be your own budgeting, using a debit machine, managing your spending, and then also looking at employment skills. So using a cash register, giving back change, any of those things.
Great. So based on those goals for the CICE program, students come into the program and identify a number of different goals that they hope to achieve. And students in this program can achieve a number of different goals, including just obtaining a college level certificate or gaining that experience, that academic experience of being in a post-secondary environment. The second goal could be to develop the skills necessary to transition to paid employment. So just being in the program to really learn those skills that LB just mentioned on the last slide that are our goals in the program to help you successfully transition into a full-time employment situation following the program. And finally, the third one, looking at the CICE program and using it as a stepping stone. So to develop those academic skills that you might need to move on into another program, perhaps at Niagara College or elsewhere, and be ready to take on the challenges of that program after completing CICE. So just to note that in order to move on to another program after CICE, it's necessary to qualify for the intake of that program. So in some cases, it may be necessary for academic upgrading in order to have the necessary requirements or prerequisites. And of course, we're there to support you and help you with those steps along the way, if that's a path that you choose to take.
So a lot of students and their families ask us, what are the things that we can do ahead of time to be prepared for CICE and really make it a positive experience? So we want to review the academic prep, and then the next slide will be the technology prep. So for academic preparation, we really stress that it's important to be able to follow a schedule and navigate the college independently. And a lot of you may already do this in high school, so it's really great that we can transfer that skill here. And then also seeing, are you able to practice good employment and acceptable behavior skills, both in and outside of the classroom. And then that applies into the workplace setting. Do you have the capacity to ask us for help when you need it? Because unfortunately, we can't read your minds. The ability to communicate your thoughts, feelings, and needs. Also be able to accept constructive feedback. So we're always wanting to give students really applicable feedback to help them grow as an individual, both in and out of the classroom. And then are you able to kind of go with the flow, adapt to changing environments and situations, and recognize that you have the skills to handle these different situations? And then be able to work with students in groups, both in our CICE classes and outside of the CICE program. And then are you also able to understand the importance of keeping scheduled appointments, communicating them to us if you're not able to attend class? Are you able to use public transportation? For a lot of our students, the first time that they'll be taking the bus or an Uber would be to the college. So it's a really great skill and builds their confidence. So we have quite a few students that love doing that. And then this also translates to field placement. Are you able to get to your field placement independently? And then also go there without a one-to-one support of a job coach. And then recommended computer and technology prep. For a lot of our students, they are tech savvy as you've used either Google Drive or your own personal smartphone. So we just like to highlight these. Something as small as managing your username and passwords to your accounts. And we give you the tools and tips to be able to do this. Do you have a basic keyboarding proficiency? So again, are you able to type and compose your own emails? And we even look at this on your cell phone as well. Are you able to text? We look for, are you able to check and reply to emails independently? Are you able to use Word, PowerPoint, Google Drive, and your own personal email? And it's all right if you don't have all of these skills. We just like to share what skills will really be helpful for you to know. And then also just your cell phone. Do you text? Are you able to download apps and use the calendar or even Google Drive on your phone? And then any assistive technology if required. So this is even just on your phone. Are you able to use Siri or ask Google in voice to text?
Okay, I'm going to speak a little bit about all of these supports available to the students in the CICE program. Myself and Scott are the two full-time learning facilitators. And in our role, we're here to support you in various ways. There will be a learning facilitator in each of your classes within the CICE program. And we're there to kind of help out, give you those kind of tips and tricks, remind you to use those items when they're available to you. The CICE professors themselves, Linda, LB, and others, they're specific professors to this program. So they teach within this program, and they're very good at giving the right tools that you need to learn the skills that you're learning in the classroom. And then the learning facilitators. So we facilitate many different ways to help you. We have drop-in hours where students come in. Maybe perhaps they need help locating something on campus, wanting to connect with a counselor. Sometimes they need help maybe writing an email. I'm not sure what to say. So there's various ways you can come in and get support from your learning facilitators. We also meet with students once a week, one-on-one. So you have this one time where you have one-on-one time with a learning facilitator. You can get to know us very well, and we can support you very individually. So that's that only time that we do have with just the students. And AEXP classes, which is a very fancy word for your elective course. So you do get to take another course that's outside of the CICE program, a course of interest, and the learning facilitators will attend those classes with you as well. And Scott will speak to that a little bit more. And you have a CICE field placement officer, Jessica over there, who introduced herself earlier, and she will be speaking to her role and supporting you in those as well as we go forth.
Thanks, Leah. So just to build on some of the supports that are available to you as a student in the CICE program. So as Leah mentioned, there's always a learning facilitator present in all of our classes. And there's lots of things that we can help out with. So there may be like some concepts that we're learning in class, just even to facilitate maybe some social group work or just some individual support so that you can be successful in your course. One of the things that is great is the one-on-one meetings that we also have, which are weekly meetings for typically around 15 minutes. And the great thing about that is that we can look at your individual goals that you have and kind of really help you achieve those goals while you're at college. So for some students, it may be they might be trying to align themselves for a job when they graduate. So we can start talking about that as soon as a student starts in our program and kind of work on that goal until completing the program. Other areas might be things like students might be interested in taking another course or program at the college. So we can kind of talk about, and hook you up with academic upgrading so that you have a good picture of what your next journey is going to be after CICE. Our program also has an academic advisor that is specific to our program. Her name is Jill English, and she also teaches within our program as well. So you have the benefit of having someone that really understands our program, and you can meet with her to kind of discuss, like I said, any of your academic needs. And she's someone that you'll probably connect with as soon as you become a level 1 student. The other supports we have is health, wellness, and accessibility. Has lots of fantastic services. They have counseling where you can kind of meet with an individual counselor. They also will set up accommodations that you may need to have in place for your specific learning needs to be successful in your program. And as well, they can also help connect you with our assistive technologist, Jim, who's fantastic at kind of looking at what type of learning needs you may need when you're kind of using your laptop or your computer. And we really encourage you to connect with Jim once you're knowing you're going to be accepted into the program, so that you can book an appointment with him and kind of have things set up kind of before your start. So that's a really good tip to kind of keep in mind, because that's going to be really set you up for success. And the next slide looks at what Leah was talking about is our elective course. So we call that AEXP. It's just our fancy way of saying course outside of our program. And important thing to know about these courses is you don't have the pressure of like a credit course where you have to do all the assignments and all the tests. You're going to be auditing this course. So it really gives students an opportunity who wants to have that academic experience at college to be able to really be engaged in as many avenues in that course as you would like. So for some students, it might be doing some group work. For other students, it might be just kind of exploring certain topics of interest. And for another group of students, it might be trying out all the things in the course to kind of see how they do. So the learning facilitator is really good at getting to know students in the program, and we kind of try to support you to meet your own individual goals. And but so once you're done that course, again, you get that audit credit, but you have that experience of being able to take a program with other students at the college.
Okay, this is a sample schedule for a level 1 timetable for the CICE program. And it's color coded, and you can see all of those kind of orangey, dark orangey kind of spots. Those are what we call the CICE core classes. So those classes are specific to the CICE program, and those are all taught by CICE professors. So Linda here, LB here, you can see their names on the schedule. Those are CICE classes taught by our professors. The green one is the AEXP class. So just as Scott was just speaking about, this sample schedule on here has a philosophy through film class as the AEXP, but that's your elective course. The green tips and tricks, kind of bluey green spots, those are kind of like drop-in sessions. So students will come to these sessions. Maybe they stay for the whole session. Maybe they just want to kind of come in and ask a few questions and then leave. It's kind of there for students when and as they need it. And you can see on this schedule, there's 4. So there's lots of opportunities for students to come in and have their questions answered, or to even come in and just maybe practice some of those skills that they're learning in the classroom. And the last spot there is yellow, and that's the meeting with Leah, it says there. And that's that one-on-one meeting that Scott was talking about with the learning facilitator. So every student will have one about 15-minute meeting a week with the learning facilitator. And that's what that spot is right there. So you can see it looks very different than a typical high school schedule. Maybe you start at 8:30 in the morning one day, and another day you're not starting until the afternoon. So students really appreciate having those times in between, perhaps going to the gym on campus or hanging out with their peers in between classes. Is a lot of fun. So there's a lot of room for, getting to know the college and getting to see other things on the campus other than just the classroom.
And if I could add to that schedule just for a minute, Leah mentioned about, for example, that philosophy AEXP class. So I just want to bring your attention to other AEXP options that we have too. So it might be culinary, where we do just a basic introduction to culinary skills and tasting. It could be things like Indigenous course, where we kind of look at traditional practices of Indigenous people that live in this region. So it could be lots of hands-on things like planting a garden, to things like making students-made moccasins and bat houses and other things as well. So it's really kind of participating and getting to understand Indigenous culture. We have things like horticulture and English, and we also had creative writing. So just give you some idea, we have a variety of different AXP options, and we're always looking at expanding those options.
All right, now I get asked about most frequently is the field placements for our CIC students. So many of you would probably know these as co-ops in high school. At college, we call them field placements. So the students have the opportunity to do 3 field placements while they are students in our program. During their first semester, we do not do a field placement. We really want to focus on our students being comfortable with college life and all of those skills necessary to be a successful college student. So we give them that first semester to really settle in and get comfortable being in our program, getting comfortable with their peers and their professors and their LFs. Then in the second semester, they do complete their first field placement. It is approximately 4 hours. It is out in the community. It's one shift a week on a dedicated day in their timetable. We do have limited on-campus options for those students who may require a little bit more time getting comfortable going out into the community. So an example of when I would use an on-campus placement is we do have a few students right now who are living in residence. They're not familiar with the Niagara region. They haven't really spent any time venturing out into the community during the first semester. So I may be looking at an on-campus option for them for their first workplace experience to give them a little bit more time, trying out the bus route and going out into the community. In semesters 3 and 4, students are all out in the community. And the shift is a little bit longer. So we're aiming more for 6 hours in the community. Again, it is 1 shift a week on a dedicated day in their timetable. So there is no CICE classes. They would not be coming to the campus. They'd be getting up in the morning, getting everything ready that they need for their field placement, traveling to their field placement, working their shift. When they're done, they would then be going home at the end of the day and then coming to school the next day for their regular CICE classes. Now down at the bottom in red there, it does say job coaches and learning facilitators do not attend field placements with the CICE students. And that just reflects back to our admission requirement, which is that the students must have a level of independence that does not require constant support or supervision. So we don't provide that one-to-one support. Now, when I'm matching students with field placement opportunities, I'm always looking at students' strengths and abilities as well as their interests and making sure that I am matching them with a location that is going to be setting them up for success. So I wouldn't send somebody to work in a kitchen who has no kitchen experience if that supervisor is looking for somebody who's going to need a little bit more independence. So we have lots and lots of different opportunities for our students. I spend a lot of time getting to know the students and finding out what their interests are, and I have the ability to then seek out additional placements that maybe we haven't had before based on students' interests and their needs. And I always like to highlight some of our students while they're out on placement. So as you can see, there's a variety of different locations that these students are at. So we have students that are at restaurants, both front of house and back of house, coffee shops, bakeries, grocery stores. We have one young man in 2 different pictures here. One, he's got a lizard in his hand, and the other one, he's holding a whole bunch of bees. So he was at an exotic pet store, and then he was also did his first placement on campus in our beekeeping department. We have students that work in agriculture, greenhouses. I'm trying to think of where everybody is right now, but students are all across Niagara region. And I also do my very best that if we do have students who live outside of St. Catharines or Niagara on the Lakes, that I am trying to find them a field placement that's convenient for them to travel to. So for instance, we have a student who lives in Burlington right now. So I made sure that he had a placement in Burlington so that he just gets up from his, he leaves from his house in the morning, travels within his own city to his field placement, and then goes home at the end of the day. The admission process. So to apply to the CICE program, you're going to apply like you would any other college program, and that's through ontariocolleges.ca. And you'll be looking for actually the full name of our program, which is Community Integration through Cooperative Education. And it is at the Daniel J. Patterson campus. I believe on that website, though, it is still listed as the Niagara on the Lake campus. So I just want to highlight, we are not at the Welland campus. Once applications come in, you'll then receive an email from myself with a link to book your admission interview. Once you send the request for your interview, I will then send you some online documents to fill out, one of them being our admission interview questionnaire. And the purpose for that is to give us some prior knowledge of just your history, your work experience, your challenges in the classroom, your strengths and abilities in the classroom, why you want to come to the CICE program. So it gives us a little insight before we meet you, but what it's also meant to do is to help get you thinking about the answers to some of the questions that we're going to ask without actually giving you all of the questions. So I'm really just trying to get your mind going so that your answers will be fresh and ready to go when you come to the interview. So the interview itself is, again, as I mentioned at the beginning of the session, the purpose of it is to ensure that the CICE program is what the applicant is looking for, but we also want to make sure that the applicant will be a good fit for our program, because as I mentioned, we always want to be setting our students up for success when they come to our program. The interview panel consists of 3 CICE staff. So you can see myself and any of the other CICE staff that you see here at this session today, maybe on the interview panel. And joining us for those is our Associate Dean of Academic and Liberal Studies. The interview lasts approximately 45 minutes long, and we are conducting them virtually using Zoom at the moment. Applicants are welcome to provide copies of additional supporting documents, which may help them determine suitability for the program. So some applicants will share, they may have a psycho ed evaluation, they maybe share their report card from high school, or if they have an IEP. So anything that you feel may help determine your suitability for the program and you're comfortable sharing, you're more than welcome to send that in advance as well. And then the last point there is that you are welcome to have family members, support people, or support worker with you during the interview, but we do like to have the applicant independently answer the questions. So of course, if you get stuck and you need a bit of a prompt, you can absolutely look to your support person who's with you for a gentle reminder of sort of what you were trying to answer. But what we're trying to avoid is having those support people that are with you answering questions for you. So as I mentioned, more than welcome to be there, but the interview is for the applicant to be answering those questions independently. Okay, next. All right, so that brings us to the end of our presentation. If you do have any questions that aren't answered during our question and answers that are coming up, you can feel free to reach out to me at any time by phone or email. I'm happy to set up one-to-one meetings to review anything in more detail that you'd like a little bit more information on.
Okay, thank you everyone so much for attending this session. The session is going to be live for another about 25 minutes if we're getting a bunch of good questions. So definitely stick around, type your questions in the question and answer field, and we can all reply and answer your questions live for you. I also want to encourage you to follow us on all of our social media platforms, because this is where you get updates on all of our COVID-19 protocols, on how programs are going to be delivered in upcoming terms, as well as just a bunch of a lot of funny cat videos and a lot of interesting fun contests that you can join. And if you look up the hashtag #MyNCStory, you'll actually see a lot of student generated content. So you'll be able to see what our students are doing daily on campus and in their programs. Does anyone have any questions for us that we can walk over, whether it's about open house or about the program or applying or placement, anything at all? While we're waiting for questions to come in, if there are any, does anyone have, not to put all of our panelists on the spot, but does anyone have any sort of extra fun tidbits or information or student stories that you can think of off the top of your head to share? We still have a couple people in attendance.
Yeah, we do have a student at Brock University in the cafeteria, their marketplace, and he is actually employed there, which is really, really exciting, and he's loving it. But his first day, he was able to go on the grill, make some stir fries. So Jess is able to really find some great placements based on the student's interest. So he's just thrilled.
That's awesome.
We also just had a student. I went to do so I check in on all the students when they are out doing their field placements. I like to give them the opportunity to show me what they're doing in person, and was visiting another student this week who was just offered a part-time position as a result of her skills and abilities while she's doing her shift every week. So she was starting her first paid shift this weekend at White Oaks. So that's also very exciting. Always tell our students that when you're going out to your field placements, that this is your opportunity to show the employer that you are the person who can fill that role if a job posting happens to come up, and in which case this happened for 2 of our students this semester.
That's amazing. That's so awesome to hear. We do have a question from Deborah Thompson. She says, on your video presentations, you show students in the culinary labs. I was hoping to have time to do that. Is that an option? So I don't know if this is potentially something that happens in the elective or how that works.
Yeah, we have had culinary courses as electives. However, they're usually in one of the large classrooms. It's actually quite a unique classroom. You almost feel like you're watching a live television show, because there's actually a kitchen in behind where the professor seats and teaches, and sometimes he'll show you what he's cooking. Sometimes they'll bring in food for you to taste. Of course, this was all before COVID, so things will start to open up eventually and we'll be able to do this again. However, we can't be in the actual culinary labs, the actual kitchens themselves cooking items, because those seats are reserved for the culinary students, unfortunately. But we do have a lot of great culinary elective courses. That's for sure. If that answers the questions. I'm not sure if maybe you also saw in the video people were in kitchens possibly for their field placement. So we've had plenty of students in various settings, either in front of the house or behind the house, restaurants, pubs, all sorts of places. Jess could give you a big list. So I'm not sure if maybe that's also one of the video presentations that you saw as well.
Yes, we do.
And let us know if that didn't answer your question, type another one and we can answer again, but I hope that answered your question. Sorry, Jessica, I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just going to add to what Leah was saying about field placements, and students do identify that culinary is something that they are interested in. We're hoping that in the near future, our own benchmark restaurant will be opening up again, and our students have been able to start field placements in the kitchen there as an on-campus experience. And then I'm able to look at options for them based on how that went out in the community. So as Lisa mentioned, I've had students work in the kitchen, back of house at pubs in Niagara Falls, coffee shops. Actually, we actually have students also working in grocery stores, working at sort of the hot and ready table, they call it. So if you've ever walked into like a Sobeys and you can just pick up your hot meal to go and have dinner at home, somebody has to make all of that. So we've had students doing that as well. And also the vintage hotels in Niagara on the Lake, we had students working there. That was a really cool experience as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so if you saw the uniforms, yes, that would have been the on-campus field placement for sure, Jessica, that you just reminded me. So yes, students would have the NC chef jackets. That was part of their uniform for their shift, and they were working most likely behind the scenes at Benchmark, getting the food prep complete.
And nice.
Good question, Emily, about bakery field placements.
Yeah, so we have had, so the coffee shops and cafes that students have done their field placements at, they also make all of their in-house baked goods. So for instance, I have a student right now who is working at a coffee shop in Niagara Falls, and they make all of their own pastries and cupcakes and squares and all of those fun things right in the cafe. So not only is she gaining her customer service experience by serving the front of house, then she's also in the kitchen helping making all of those items as well. And we also have another one in Niagara on the Lake, same idea, everything is made in-house. So it's not bakery specific, but you are getting those hands-on baking skills as a result of those placements. But also, as I mentioned before, every time we get a new cohort of students come in, those students have new interests, and I have a long list of different areas to sort of go out and search for in the Niagara region. So I'm always looking for new opportunities based on the new group of students that are coming in. So I was actually just mentioning to LB before the session started that I do have a bakery that I'm wanting to reach out to once I determine that there's a good fit for that location, to see if they'd be interested in taking students. So it's never a no when someone's asking us about field placement opportunities. I just have to sort of go out into the community and see if those opportunities are there for us. So I will always do my best to try and find those new opportunities wherever they present themselves.
Deborah has another question, and she's asking, is there an option to have more than 6 hours of co-op or placement experience per week?
Great question. So we have had students that have done more than 6 hours. So right now in the students' timetables in our 3rd and 4th semester, there is a full day off in their schedule specifically for placement. So if you wanted to stay and do an 8-hour shift and that agency was open to having you stay longer, you absolutely can work more than 6 hours. 6 hours is sort of the average. Now, if it comes to working above and beyond what that one day is, it's sort of on a case-by-case basis, and it would be based on whether you're able to still successfully attend all of your classes. It's not going to impact your ability to be successful in your core CICE classes. So maybe you have a half day somewhere and you have the afternoon off. And if your supervisor at that field placement was open to having you come in for additional hours, that's something that we could discuss, but it would really come down to what the schedule was and how you're sort of doing in the program, because again, we're always setting you up for success. So I would never send you out for more hours if it was going to take away from your success in the classroom, because we want to make sure we're not burning you out. But again, it's a conversation we can have if you come into the program, because I'll use one of our semester 2 students right now. He's doing his 4-hour placement in his second semester at Niagara Parks, but he really wants to learn more about the horticulture industry. So he has the ability to stay for that whole day if he wants to gain some additional experiences when they come up. But again, it's on a case-by-case basis, and we can talk more about it.
Great questions. Thank you.
I can just add a little bit to just the also the academic supports for students that are interested in, like, perhaps maybe culinary or baking. So I know some students have taken like some of the AXP courses, like nutrition, where they kind of find out about kind of food and applications kind of in different settings. As well, some students have gone on to get their safe food handler certification. So things that will kind of really enhance their resume and can really support them in future job prospects. So those are things that we can also discuss at their, LF student meetings. So it's kind of some of those supplemental things that will really kind of round out students to be really good, solid candidates, especially after they're getting the field placement experience as well. So we're always, college is such a time for students to really explore, just like, any student, any program, what some of their future interests and goals are. And those will change throughout our program. So we're always having those ongoing discussions to find ways that students can really best highlight those skills that they want to kind of use in the future.
So those extra certifications are always very important. We get a lot of questions about that for all of our programs at Niagara College, of what extra certifications they'll come out of the program with.
And another thing, just to quickly mention, that I get asked quite a bit when individuals are thinking about applying to our program is financial aid and scholarships and bursaries. So all of our students are eligible to apply for OSAP. As it was mentioned earlier, you when you're accepted into this program, you have all of the rights and privileges of any other Niagara College student. So if you do require the assistance of OSAP, you can absolutely apply for that. And you are open to applying to any of the scholarships or bursaries that are available to the Niagara College students. And over the years, we've had many students who have applied to these scholarships and bursaries and received them as well. And I'm not sure if Scott or Leah, maybe you want to just speak to how you're able to support students in that process if they're looking to apply for those.
Yeah, we've had a number of students that will kind of sit down with us and identifying their, interest in looking for other potential financial resources to help, kind of support, paying their tuition and just like other bills as, part of being a student. So we typically will sit down with them and look. I know Niagara College has lots of bursaries and scholarships that they make available for students. So we just recently, I had the student in and she kind of applied and just got awarded a scholarship, which goes towards her tuition and that. And it kind of really alleviated, that financial stress or feeling that she has to work right now. And I know Leah has done the same in the past as well. So we're always helping students really access not just Niagara College, but also resources in the community as well, that are specific to their situation and that. So yeah,
and Scott, I know that you've helped students as well. Sometimes there's a bit of a written format they need to hand in to apply. And I know Scott's helped students do that as well. And sometimes they say, they ask you to send a thank you letter to maybe those that award you the bursary, and we'll help students kind of, what would you say, and help them write that as well. I mean, it's always in their own words, but we can help facilitate around those things too.
For the question that Emily just asked in the Q&A, I hope you don't mind if I take this one. There's so many places to find scholarships and bursaries. I actually do a session that will restart again in the new year called The Money Part with our financial aid team. So we've worked with them to do an entire presentation very similar to this to show you all of the different ways you can access scholarships and bursaries across not just the college, but Ontario and Canada. And of course, this team and our financial aid team will be able to help you apply to those. You do apply once you are a student. So the scholarships at Niagara College come available on our website about 1 to 2 months before the start of your program. So for students starting in September, usually you'll see some scholarships and bursaries start to be posted around mid-June, early July, lots throughout August, and then even some into September and October sometimes. So kind of like the months bookending the start of your program, there will be scholarships coming available. At Niagara College, we have over 1.5 million available with our financial aid team, most of which goes unclaimed because people don't know how to apply and when to apply, and all of those things that you're currently asking. So this is a great time to ask those questions because you have a lot of time to prepare. So yeah, definitely once you're a student, you're accepted and you have a student number, and then you can start applying to scholarships and bursaries through Niagara. Like Scott said, through all of your community connections, through your parents' employer or your close support network employers, they might have some for you. I know this is a very random one that I wasn't aware of until a couple of years ago, but local malls have scholarships. I don't know why, but that's another one that's separate from that. Usually if you've done have a financial need, or maybe if you've done some community involvement, or I know there's a lot of scholarships available for students who have a barrier to education of any kind. I also know that students are very hesitant to apply to scholarships if they don't quite meet the need for the scholarship. So a very basic example would be if there was a scholarship just based on academics and they were asking for a 65% average or higher, and someone had a 64% average, they think they aren't eligible and they don't apply. And that is a mistake because, again, so many people don't apply to scholarships. So if you were the only applicant and you only are and you're a bit below what they're looking for, they will give you the scholarship anyways. So definitely this is a good time to start thinking about that and get looking.
I know, if I can just add to that, I know a lot of employers too, a lot of students came and they're realizing that their employers had scholarships that they can tap into for post-secondary. So they've been successful that way. And a lot of our students as well that are on ODSP, there's some benefits they can tap into when they're doing their work placements, for example, or doing work readiness classes. So that can provide for things that they may need for placement. And so those are all things that we typically review just to kind of see that they're really accessing whatever supports that they're entitled to.
Absolutely. Deborah has another question. She says, if I was able to get good grades at school with lots of assistance from my family, will this disqualify me from the program?
So you definitely would not be disqualified for applying to the program. No, I would encourage you to apply and go through the process. This is a great opportunity perhaps for maybe Linda or LB to talk about how we complete our assignments and activities and what kind of homework we have for the program. And that might be able to sort of answer this question with a little bit more clarity. Oh, you're on mute, Linda.
Thanks. Sure. In our classes, we do a lot of hands-on experiential learning, and a lot of it is done in groups. So you're learning with your peers, and we have all different types of ways in which we assess and evaluate the different things that we're looking at in the classrooms. So there's lots of variety there. There's lots of attention to the fact that we have different learning styles and that different students learn at different rates and in different ways. And we make sure that we accommodate for all of those different learning styles so that everyone is feeling included and active and engaged in what we're doing in our classrooms. So I don't know, LB, if you want to add anything to that.
No, that's great. And definitely go through the process with Jess, ask any questions, and she'll really be able to provide all the answers to see if this is a good fit for you. But a lot of our students do come just to gain social experience as well in the time management and organization, which we focus on as well. We integrate that into our classroom and activities quite a bit because we recognize that's an area that students want more independence with and to gain that confidence.
just put my email in the chat if anyone is interested in reaching out for more information, or you have more questions that you'd like to spend a little bit more time getting answers to. I'm happy to meet on Zoom or by phone to discuss that.
Just gonna copy and paste that and send it again. You sent it to the panelists, but that's okay.
Whoops.
I just sent it to everyone. I do it all the time.
Send it to the people that already have my email.
And encourage also everyone, I would like just welcome them, if for an on-campus tour, if they're interested in finding out more and kind of seeing, you'll be able opportunity. I mean, we're typically always at the college. So it's always nice to be able to see prospective students and come and kind of get to want to know more about our program. And sometimes it's nice to be able to see the space that they're going to be in, phase 2, but also the space, and just kind of getting an idea. Like I said, if you kind of feel it's also for your benefit to making sure it's a good fit for you as well. So really encourage you to kind of book those tours and come in and checking us out.
And if you are booking those tours, I have also just been encouraging people to do that now that they're available. When you're booking it and you're where it says sort of more questions, please highlight that you are interested in the CICE program and you'd like to see our CICE area. And the tour facilitator will reach out to me and I'll be able to actually meet you sort of towards the end of the tour and bring you up to our area and show you our classrooms. And you might bump into some students and some of the people on the panel today. So make sure you highlight that you're interested in CICE so we can add that on to the end of your tour.
Deborah has another question. She says, I'm 18 now, so I'm an adult. How much can I include my parents during the early process of applying and seeing the school?
Great question.
Yeah, so you can involve your parent as much or as little as you choose. So if you would like your parent to help you through the application process and coming to the school to have a tour, you are more than welcome to do that. Yeah, it's completely up to you. If you'd like to do it independently, I'm also here to help walk you through the process, but we understand that this is a new step for our applicants. So parents are there to help. I can tell you when I applied to college when I was 18, my mom helped me quite a bit too, because it was something new that I hadn't done yet. So absolutely, take that extra help while you can get it. But again, if you're looking for that independence, I'm here to help you the process as well.
Absolutely. For any program at Niagara College, and if students want their parents involved, then we can absolutely do that. Something to note is once you've applied and you have a student number, if you want your parent involved and be able to call the school on your behalf and get information, they will have to fill out, you will both have to sign a document saying that you are allowing them to have access to your information. Otherwise, our admissions team won't be able to tell them anything or financial aid or anything like that, because it is a very confidential, you and your information are confidential. And that's really important to us. So once you have a student number and you are applied in the program, definitely contact someone and ask if you can get that form so that your parent can access your information and help you in the process of financial aid and everything like that if you're needing assistance. I know I definitely had my mom fill out that form because there's a lot of things happening with my OSAP application about like appeals because my dad retired and I needed documents and I had no access to my parents' documents. I didn't know what an appeal was for financial information. So I definitely signed that document right away. And it was a big help to have that extra support for the first time I was dealing with financial questions.
And just to piggyback off of that, when if you are accepted into our program and are a CICE student, at our orientation, we have the consent to disclose form. So you get to make that decision once you are have started your program as to how much involvement you would like for your parents. So we have some students that are like, yes, absolutely. I would like my parents to be involved. So if they have if I have questions, I want to be able to bring my parents to sort of be involved in those conversations. And then we have other students who, once they start the program, they're like, no, I'm an adult learner and I'd like, my academic information to be my information and my decision on what I'd like to choose to share with my parents. And we go over that with you when you become a student in the program as to sort of which route you would like to take. And there is no right or wrong answer. It's completely individualized to you as a student as to how much parent involvement you would like.
And it's always your decision. So if you think you want to be independent and then you change your mind and you need support, you can always, change your mind, and, we're here to support whatever decision you make. So.
Absolutely. There's a question that's just come in. Part of it I can't answer, and part of it is kind of recruitment-y, so I'll answer it. So the part that's recruitment question is you're saying that the application is asking you to apply to 3 programs, but this is the only program you want to go to. You do not have to apply to more than 1 program in the application system. You are allowed 5 program choices. You're only allowed to do 3 at 1 institution, but if you only choose 1, that is absolutely your decision, and the system's not going to make you choose more programs. That being said, it doesn't cost more or less to have more program options, and if you wanted to fill a couple, you do not have to accept those offers either. So that you could just test what it's like to apply to another program for fun if you wanted to, but you do not have to apply to more than 1. And then the other half of this is I can't answer, which is how soon after applying do I find out if I've been accepted into the program, which I can
take that one. Depending on when you apply. So if you apply after February 1st for any of our, so for September 2022 and after, you will find out within a week of applying if you're accepted into our program. If you are applying for September right now, those offers aren't posted to Ontario colleges until February 1st. So you do have to wait a little bit. But I should also mention we are still accepting applications for our January 2020 semester, which is in just a couple months. So if you were to interview for a January start, you would find out within a week of your interview as to whether you were accepted or not. It's only if you're applying for September, which is a ways down the road, we sort of have to finish the current academic year that we're in before those get posted. But if you apply to the program and you go through the interview process and you do have any questions and you're like, I'm not quite sure if I've been accepted or when will I know when I've been accepted, you can always reach out to me by email and I'm happy to answer those questions.
And also, I went to double check before I was going to add this information, but before we end, which we will be ending in about a minute, CICE does have 3 intake dates. So when on the Ontario Colleges system, if you want to apply for the 3 programs that you're allowed to apply to at Niagara College, that doesn't actually mean you're only allowed to apply once to 1 program. So we consider one choice, for example, fall 2022 CICE. Another choice is winter 2023 CICE. And the next choice could be May 2023 CICE. So what that means is you can fill 3 choices with only 1 program, but multiple intake dates. If you know there's no other program you want, but you just want to be sure that you have multiple options to get accepted into the program, you can fill up 3 choices of the same program. I know back when I thought I was going to be a nurse, I applied to Niagara College for nursing and did practical nursing was the only thing I applied to, but I applied to all 3 intake dates just because I wanted to make sure I got accepted. So that's another option. You can apply to more than 1 CICE intake for more program choices.
And I just have one last thing I want to mention before we end is just to piggyback again off of the 3 intakes. I do like to highlight that our fall semester is our most popular intake. Just because it kind of follows the academic schedule that most individuals are used to following. So starting in September and ending sort of around the end of spring, beginning of the summer. So if you are looking to apply for the fall semester, I do encourage you to apply sooner rather than later. I believe last year we were almost full by the beginning to mid-summer. So get your applications in as soon as you can so you don't miss out on that opportunity.
Awesome. That's a fantastic place to end. We did go all the way to 1:31, which is awesome. So thank you to our panelists for all of this information and your time today out of your Saturday to help these prospective students. And thank you to all of our attendees for participating and asking so many awesome questions. Once again, this recording will be live on our website next week, so you can rewatch if you want to learn the information again and re-jog your memory or show your support person. You're welcome, Deborah. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks
Take
for
care.
coming.
Bye, thank you.